Welcome to Living Rich, Syrup. The podcast is called Living Rich Syrup for a lot of reasons. One is living rich was taking, and so is being rich. And probably anything with the word rich other than syrup, because that's my last name. And it's also the truth. I needed to relearn what it was like to be me, as opposed to trying to live a life that I thought maybe impressed other people or impressed my ego. What did I really want? Who was I really? And what got me there in the first place? And that's what this podcast is all about, helping you to live your true life and get the joy and happiness that you deserve with the gifts that you already have. So today I want to talk about reframing, looking at a situation for what it is, what it could be, as opposed to the worst case scenario that so many of us imagine. And I want to begin by talking about a recent event. I was driving with my daughter when we got pulled over by the police. We were on our way to pick up our car that had just gotten $2,000 in repairs done. I had just gotten an extra new tax, and I got pulled over for going 35 and a 25. I was definitely frustrated and upset, but I remained calm because in coaching, in my life, I've realized that the only thing that I can really control, well, not the only thing, but one of the main things I can control in any situation is how I react to it. I can't always control the situations. I can't control the tax bill, the car repairs, the getting pulled over by a police officer, but I can control my emotions around it and how dire I make the situation. I can become the cause, meaning I'm in control of my emotions rather than the effect, and say, why me? Why did this happen to me? So in this situation, I decided to be the cause, and I remained calm. And the police officer was, give me your license and registration, please. No smile. He had permanent stone face. He was waiting for an argument. I'm sure he gets a lot of them throughout his life from people that he pulls over. But I was not going to do that. I said, oh, hey, what a great day. Here's my license and registration. Do you know why I pulled you over? Nope, no idea. Well, you're going 35 and a 25, and I'm writing you a ticket. Now, he just sat there waiting for me to fight back in front of my daughter. I said, well, okay, I guess if I broke the law, you got to write me a ticket. And he went away, stormed away. He was not too happy that I wasn't more upset. It's not why I did it, though. But he stormed away, and my daughter said to me, Dad, how did you do that? I said, how did I do what? She said, how did you remain so calm when you knew you were getting a speeding ticket? And I said, Jules, that's her name. I said, Jules, there's only so many times in my life that I'm going to get a speeding ticket. There's only so many times I'm going to get a tax bill. There's only so many times I'm going to need car repairs. Today just happens to be one of those days where all of these things are happening. But guess what? I just got it out of the way. It's one less speeding ticket I have to deal with in my life, one less car repair I have to deal with in my life. And while it is stressful, there's only so many, and life will continue, and I'll continue to move on, and there'll be better days ahead. But there's only so many days that have to be like this. And she said, wow, Dad, that's really amazing that that's the way you're looking at things. And I said, Jules, and you know what? There's also only so many times I'm going to be able to show you that it's how you react that counts, that you can actually choose how you react. You don't need to fall into a stressful situation. You don't need to fall into why me. You can actually say to yourself, I'm going to choose to continue to be joyous. I'm going to choose to continue to be happy. And I'm not going to let this situation define me. And I'm not going to let it ruin my day, my week, my month, my year, because all it is one event in a long life that just happened to happen at that moment. And in the next moment, we were driving again down the street. And had that police officer never pulled us over, we would have been having the same conversation we were, because we didn't let it change our day. But so many times when things happen to us, we do the opposite. Instead of choosing to react calmly, we go into all the terrible possibilities. Oh my God, why me? Why did this happen to me? Why today? Why does everything always happen to me? That is not good. That is, you're pulling things towards you that you don't want when you're doing that. Instead, just say only so many. There's only so many days this is going to happen. And that's how reframing works. Even in the biggest adversity of my life, I look back now and I see how much I grew from it, how much I changed from it. So imagine if you could do that in the moment and you didn't have to wait 5 years of going through pain and reliving situations over and over in your head. I had a job that I thought was going to be mine to have, and it was going to pay me a lot of money, and I deserved to have this job because I had created the original show, and it was a TV show that I had worked for. And so I thought, oh, I'm going to come back. But they didn't invite me back for whatever reason. And it was really hard. But guess what? That's what actually led me to finally coach. I knew I wanted to coach for a long time. I was already trained in coaching. I was trained in neurolinguistic programming. I was using it at work with the different talent that I work with and the staffs that I work with. But that was an opportunity. It was an opportunity to finally live my purpose and to help people change their lives and have total transformations. That wouldn't have happened had that job stayed. I would have continued to say, well, in the future, maybe I'll do it in the future. But that adversity allowed me one of my life's greatest opportunities. And the same thing happened when I was going through a divorce. When you go through a divorce, you feel sad. You have kids and it didn't work out. You just wasn't right. So then you think, oh, how are these kids going to live without me? How am I going to be without them? What's going to happen? This imaginary future that's so terrible, and I can't even afford a house, and all these things that you put in your head that just aren't true. Well, guess what? Again, getting divorced led me to get back in touch with myself. I started riding my bike again. I started hiking. I started exercising. I was eating healthy, got reconnected to nature. Me and my son, who was younger at the time, he's now 15, we started to really spend a lot of time together in the woods having these really great, deep conversations. I got him really into hiking and nature during that period, something he still loves today. We played all kinds of baseball together. And all of the kids ended up with a better dad, a dad that was not so stressed out, that didn't feel so trapped, a dad that eventually found love. And I met the love of my life, somebody who is my soulmate and who I am so happy and so fortunate to be with. None of that would have happened had I not gotten divorced. And again, like in the situation, when I was in it, I thought, this is so terrible. Oh my God, why me? How could this happen to me? Having gone through the training to be a coach and having worked with so many clients now, I am now able to change the rate at which I can change my emotions. And that is a big game changer, is the speed at which you can come back to your baseline or above your baseline is a massive game changer in your success and your happiness and your joy in your life. Think about it. If right now something happens to you, whatever it is, you get into a fight with a friend or a spouse, one of your kids is having a hard time, and you live in that misery and replay it over and over and over again for, let's say, a month. And that's short for a lot of people. Some people play things over and over again for years and years and years. But let's say you do it for a month. All of that anxiety inside of you is not good for your body, not good for your health. It's not good for you, whatever you're trying to accomplish. You're distracted. You're not able to focus on the things that you really want to focus on in your life because you're so focused on this one thing that happened, and you're at the effect. You're at the effect. You're saying, why me? How could this happen? Oh, I can't believe this happened to me. And you're not at the cause and saying, I'm going to choose to feel the way I want to feel right now and to move past this emotion. Now, think if you could change that 1 month to 1 week. You just gained 3 weeks of your life back to actually go and be productive, where you're not feeling so bad. You gained 3 weeks of your health back, where your body's not going through that trauma. Now, let's say you go from a month to a week to a day. Now it only takes you a day to get through it. Now you've gained almost an entire month of productivity just by changing the speed at which you can turn your emotions around and understand that the one thing that you can control is how you react to something. And eventually you can move all the way down to 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you can turn things around. And it's possible. I do it because I have a lot of different tools to do it. And I've learned that the speed at which I do these things can actually completely impact how my life goes, the type of health that I have, the type of laughter and love and joy that I have, the type of success that I have in whatever I'm trying to accomplish, because I'm not distracted with these negative emotions. It doesn't mean that I don't feel and that sometimes it doesn't take me longer to get through something. Of course it does. I'm a human being. But the things that really shouldn't take up that much attention, somebody being nasty to me in traffic and flipping me off or sitting on their horn for 30 seconds. I'm so angry and now I'm going to put my anger towards you. I have a philosophy now Do I really want this person in my life? I ask myself that question. Am I going to choose right now to have this person in my life? Because if I react back, we are now having an interaction. Who knows where it goes from there. And even if it's only 5 minutes and we're, yelling at each other back and forth in traffic, I've now decided to have a conversation with a maniac. Why would I do that? I'm not going to go down that road. I'm not going to engage with an angry police officer who wants me to be upset. I'm not going to fight back with a cashier. It doesn't mean I'm a pushover. I mean, I definitely have boundaries. And when I need to, I stand up for myself. If somebody, is trying to take something from me, of course I say, no, you can't have that. But do I really care? Is my ego so fragile that I need to get into an argument with somebody who's holding their horn for 30 seconds? And who knows what's going on in their life and why they're so upset. They're probably been carrying something for a year that they should let go. Now, I'm going to get wrapped up into that? I don't think so. Think about it. Reframe these emotions and think about what can come out of adversity is so powerful for you. That's the first thing you want to do. You could say, how can I learn from this? What can I learn? How can I grow? And then the second thing, ask yourself, do I want to sit in this emotion? Is this a healthy emotion for me? And then the third thing is, do I really want this person that's causing this pain to me in my life? And that could even be a boss that you have to have in your life or a spouse that you're having trouble with, even though they're still in your life. Yes, they're going to be a part of your life. They don't need to be in your mind, in your subconscious around the clock. They don't need to run your life when they're not even there. They are dealing with their own things. You can let it go. And you can remember that there are only so many opportunities for you to feel good in the moment. Don't waste them. Don't waste every day living in a past that is done or imagining a future that's never happened yet. And that's what we do. We can't stay present. And I think a lot of times that is because we just don't feel good enough inside. We don't feel sure enough inside that we can handle these things going wrong. So we're trying to prepare ourselves. Oh, God, they said this and that means that. And then I'm going to say this and I got to make sure I got everything worked out in my head. So I'm ready to go. Trust that you'll be okay in whatever the actual situation is, because it's never going to be what you imagine anyway. When has anything gone as you imagined it would? It doesn't happen. Sometimes it's better. Sometimes it's worse. But trust that you're good enough. Trust that you are worthy. Trust that you have it inside of you to be calm, to take a moment, and to react the way that you want to. Because in between anything that happens to you, the stimulus and the response, there is a little bit of time. There's a second where you actually can make that decision. And you can stretch that second so it feels a lot longer than a second. And you could breathe. I'll give you an example. My son, my little one, my 9-year-old, we were playing in the backyard and I was bending over, fully clothed with my phone in my pocket to get something out of the pool. And he decided to be funny to push me into the pool with my clothes on. Now, that is not something that makes me happy. First of all, I could get hurt. Second of all, it's just not cool to do with somebody with their clothes on. But I took a second and I said, okay, I have to teach him that this is not a good idea. But screaming at him and yelling at him, telling him he ruined my phone, which he didn't. The phone turned out to be okay. Getting really upset, letting my ego say, how dare you? I'm your father. How could you do that? That was not going to teach him in that moment. It was only going to hurt him. It was going to hurt his confidence. It was going to hurt his ego. It was going to make him someday feel like he's not good enough. So I said, why would you do that? What just happened? What was going through your head? And he said, I don't know. I said, well, you don't push somebody in the pool with their clothes on. You don't push somebody in the pool ever because they can get hurt. And just so you know, my phone was in my pocket. My phone might actually be ruined. And he got really upset and he went and hid his face. And I said, listen, it's okay. I love you. You're okay. Just don't do it again because you can hurt somebody. And I was so proud of myself that that's the way I handled that, because it would have been so easy to get really upset and start yelling. But guess what? That is always your ego. That's your ego. That's you saying, how dare someone do this to me? To me. It's not really about the situation. Getting into a fight in traffic, about your ego. Holding on to a negative emotion for way longer than you need to is your ego. How could you do that to me? How could somebody do that to me? And it's not always your ego meaning that you think you're so great. A lot of times it's your ego thinking you're not so great. And you're trying to protect yourself and prove that you are worthy by fighting back. Prove that, how dare you beep at me in traffic because I don't deserve that. And I need to prove that I don't deserve that. Guess what? You don't deserve it. You're fine. You're worthy. And nobody deserves it, but that person decided to do it anyway. Don't let them get wrapped up in your life. Let them go and understand that there are only so many times that you're going to get a chance to react like that. And there are also only so many times that you're going to get a chance to react in a positive way. When one of your kids wants to play with you, when your wife walks into the room, or your husband, and you're in the middle of watching a sports game, a show that you really love, and they have something that they need to talk to you about. Turn the damn game off. Turn the show off for a second and let them talk. There's only so many times they're going to need you in that way. And when you shut them down for your own needs, you're showing them that they don't matter to you. And there's only so many times your kids are going to want to play with you. And there's only so many times that you're going to have the opportunity to go to a concert that you really want to go to before that band never tours again. Understand, only so many can work both as a reframe, where you change how you see a situation. Only so many times a bad thing's going to happen. But it can also work to drive you forward, to remember that there are only so many right nows. Right now is the only moment that counts. You'll hear me say this over and over again in the podcast because it's true. And there are only so many right nows. And right now, it's beautiful outside. And right now, as soon as I get over this podcast, I'm going outside in my pool with my 9-year-old and my wife. Even though it's the middle of the day and it's a work day, I'm still going to do it. You know why? Why not? I'll take an hour. And if I need to work later, I'll work later. But there are only so many beautiful summer days where I'm going to have this beautiful pool with my amazing wife and my 9-year-old who want to play and hang out. So I'm going to do it because there are only so many times. And I hope that you take that with you, and I hope that you learn to reframe these situations. And remember, you control your emotions. That's what you control. Always ask yourself in any situation, what can I control here? Can I control changing the way somebody else feels or the way somebody else acts? Can I make somebody through my own sheer will do what I want them to? No, you can't. You could control your actions. You could control your emotions. You could control how you feel. You could control how you use your time. You could control what you decide to spend time on. That's what you could control. You could control finding things that you love, but you can't control things outside of you. You just can't. So stop trying to. Hope you enjoyed today's podcast. This is Living Rich, Syrup. If you want more tips, you can go to my YouTube channel at Rich Syrup Coaching. I also have an Instagram channel, Rich Syrup Coaching, and a website. Guess what the title is? Rich Syrup Coaching. www.richsyrupcoaching.com. Till next time, I'll see you later.